Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy Mike. You already know who it is, what is up, and what is good. Today, I'm going to be giving you guys 4 players that I feel are destined for a breakout season next year. So, let's just get right into the list. My number 4 spot will go to Gary Harris. Now, Gary Harris is a really efficient shooter. Now, he can light it up from 3, he can take it off the dribble, and plus he has a really deep team behind him. The Nuggets are a really deep team, and they have a nice, they're pretty much like the Heat of the West, but they have better players. The Nuggets do have better players, and they just have a really good collection of players. But for the Nuggets, it's more of they're in the West. Like, if the Nuggets were in the East, they would probably be like a top 4 seed. But then again, Gary Harris, I feel like he's gonna have a really nice season next year. And he just has a really good team around him. And plus but the only knock is in the West, so that's the only thing. He probably won't make the playoffs next year because, with LeBron going to the Lakers, that kind of pushes them back, and they were already 1 game away. So that's my only really knock on this player slash team, the Nuggets and Gary Harris. But he does show really good spurts of showing great potential. He's kind of like Jayson Tatum did throughout the regular season last year, but in the playoffs, I guarantee Gary Harris would have been similar to a Donovan Mitchell or even a Jayson Tatum. So I really feel like Gary Harris will have a really nice season next year. Maybe even be a candidate for most improved player. But I feel like all these guys that I'm going to list can be a potential candidate for player and most improved player of the year. So with my number 4 spot, we'll go to Gary Harris. And at my number 3 spot, I have Chris Dunn from the Chicago Bulls. Now, I actually really like Chris Dunn because he reminds me of Victor Oladipo, because he didn't lead the league in steals, but he did at one point last year. I think he was 2nd or 3rd behind Paul George and Oladipo. So I like Chris Dunn. He has his own team. He can do his own thing there. He has Zach LaVine there if they bring him back, and they have a really nice young core. I think teams like not the Nuggets, teams like the Kings, the Bulls, maybe the Knicks, not really the Knicks because they don't have a lot of, the Knicks. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but teams like that are really young and weren't that good last year, but they have a really nice young team, and that in 5 years they'll be really good. So Chris Dunn, he's a great scorer. He's really good at on ball defense. He can get in the passing lanes, get steals, force turnovers, and really get your team some extra points in transition. So and playing on the defensive end. So their team has a really great young talent, including Chris Dunn. So I think he's another player that I feel like is destined for a breakout season next year. And again, I think he was right on the brink of being a candidate for most improved player this year. So I think he'll like I said, all these players are in line for most improved player next year. So Chris Dunn is my number 3 spot. My number 2 spot is Myles Turner from the Indiana Pacers. Now, if you guys haven't seen his videos on Instagram, he puts them up every 2 days, or I think he works out 4 or 5 days a week. So they're up there all the time. So if you don't follow Myles Turner, you need to go watch his videos on Instagram. He's been putting in work. I know I saw his 5-week transformation, so he looks really good. He's got that 6-pack going on there. So and he looks a lot bigger and looks stronger. I'm sure he's quicker now, so quicker on his feet. He can probably jump higher, spring up better. So I really want to see him get average more points and more blocks and definitely more rebounds. That's what this team needs. That's what that Pacers team needs, is more rebounding and from him. So hopefully he can bring that in from putting in all that work in the gym and with those guys down in Texas. So I really like that. So, and again with Myles Turner, this is the best team that they had going into next year or this year. This is the best team that he's had around him on this Pacers team. So they land Tyreek Evans, they get McDermott, and they just sign Kylo Quinn, so he's a really nice backup center. So I really see him just having that flexibility in the lineups that they can put out there, and putting Myles Turner in a position to be the best that he can be, along with Gary Harris and Chris Dunn. So I really feel like it's his time now. I think he was supposed to have his year this year. Injuries kind of got in the way, but I definitely feel like this next year going in, he's gonna have one of his best years yet. And his work and his work ethic this season that he got from Oladipo and really from himself. That's the thing about Myles Turner this year, or this summer. He said to himself, like, he knows he has to be, he has to go out and improve his body. He has to get that body, that work of mind, and that mental aspect to the game as well. So not just getting his body right, but his mind right, going in there, getting rebounds, putting up shots. So that's going to play a big role in how he can also be a potential candidate and the most improved player of the year next season. So like I said, I think it's his time. The fact that it came from within, similar to how Oladipo did it. He said, you know, he got the motivation from having a bad series and having a bad game. He knew he had to change his body, and that's what Myles Turner is doing, similar to how Oladipo did it. So I really think that they really built a new culture here in Indiana. So I really think they got something special with Myles Turner. So hopefully he can spring out next year and have his breakout season. So, and my next spot and my last spot goes to Jayson Tatum. We all saw how he performed in the playoffs. He always steps up to the plate, but my one knock on this team, and not this team, but kind of this team, Jayson Tatum and the young core of the Celtics, the young core, is that they don't really show up on the road. Yes, they'll have Kyrie and Hayward going into next year, but for some reason on the road they cannot play the similar game that they do at home, and we all know how they went at home. So I think they only lost that one game in Game 7 at home. So that's really my only knock on Jayson Tatum and the young core of the Celtics. You know, Rozier, Brown. So that's really the only knock I have with this player. And he grew fast, guys. You could just see how quickly the game slowed down for him, and you could really see it when he plays out on the floor, how he just knows what to do. He's not second guessing himself on what to do with the ball. He knows what to do with the ball before he gets it. So I really feel like Jayson Tatum will really have a breakout season next year, and I mean, he really pretty much already did in the playoffs. I know at some point in the season it was questionable whether he was even a Rookie of the Year candidate. I mean, he really was. It just, the whole timing of the award stuff, it kind of throws stuff off. But I really feel like he's definitely a Rookie of the Year candidate. So, or he was. But that's what I really like about Jayson Tatum. You know, he always steps up to the plate, and he shows that he can, and he's willing to, no matter what situation he's in or his team is in. So he can show that, you know, he's not scared of the moment, and he's definitely willing to go out there and put his team on his back if he has to and when he has to. So I like Jayson Tatum in my number one spot. So let me guys know what you think about my list. I got Gary Harris, Chris Dunn, Myles Turner from the Pacers, and Jayson Tatum from the Celtics. Like I said, guys, all these guys have potential to be a most improved player next year. But if I were to give it to somebody, it'd probably be Chris Dunn or Myles Turner, only because I'm not sure if Gary Harris has won it already. I think he has. And Jayson Tatum, we've already seen his ceiling, but we've seen his ceiling, but we haven't seen it, if that makes sense. So it's only his rookie year, so that doesn't mean anything really, but it's still early, so we got to see what else he can do. So guys, that is my list. Like I said, Gary Harris, Chris Dunn at number 3, Myles Turner at number 2, and then Jayson Tatum at number 1. And guys, that is my list of 4 players that I feel will have and that are destined to have a breakout season next year, guys. So let me know what you think about that. Thank you for watching this video. It's been Mike, and you can let that beat drop.